Hey everyone, welcome back to 305 Insights. We got the weekly recordings here with Miguel and Eric. First episode is going to be about the Miami Dolphins draft and how we viewed it. And then we got some subsequent episodes after that. You know how these introductions go already. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow us, however you choose to on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Thanks for listening, folks. Hope you enjoy this one. We'll catch you on the next one. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to 305 Insights. I'm here with Miguel.
The Cripple.
Yeah. And Eric.
Got it. Good job.
Boys,
Got it.
in the words of Rafiki, it is time.
That is great intro right there.
Thank you.
Well, that was perfect.
So it's that time of year, boys. The NFL draft. Just right off the bat, before we dive into it, the overall, individual picks. Overall, Eric, how do you feel about the Dolphins coming out of the draft?
Good. I mean, it's not. I would say the Dolphins drafts don't mean like the headlines. It's not like a super sexy draft or like a headline draft, but it's for good reasons. They're I liked it a lot. I feel that they drafted for the future. What's coming up after this season, I think, with the picks that they have, they're preparing for that off season for next year.
Miguel, what do you think?
Let's see.
Just overall, positive, negative outlook. We'll dive into it in a second.
I think it was positive in the sense that they picked players that are going to be a positive addition to the team in a couple of years. But as far as what their plan is, as far as like winning now, I don't see how it fits. But so I'd probably just give them it was an okay draft. It was an average draft for them.
So that being said, both of you guys kind of touched on it. And it seems like Chris Greer and the staff were trying to balance between
Like they were playing it way too safe.
Yeah, they're trying to balance between getting best available, but also looking to the future.
Yes.
And it's we've been programmed for the past few years that this team is in a win now mode. And you can make the cases for and against of what they did. So let's just dive into each one and we'll kind of see what we're talking about here. So first overall pick for them, 21st overall pick in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
First round, Chop Robinson, defensive end out of Penn State. I think the issue with what the fan base had with this pick is you have Jalen Phillips, you have Bradley Chubb. You signed Barrett for a 1-year deal, but I think it was maybe a 2-year deal. It might be like one of those things, but
No, it's a
It was a
1-year deal.
It's only
Okay. And it's one of those things where do you really need to splurge on defensive end? Now, I'm of the before I jump into you guys, I want to express my opinions on the pick. I think it was actually a good pick because when you see how this team's being built, and Miguel brought this up in the previous podcast about we don't really know what Anthony Weaver's defense is going to look like compared to Vic Fangio. We have an idea of what he runs, like the schemes that he runs. But the reason why I like it is I think they were, and this could be seen as a blessing and a curse, but they were haunted by the ending of last year where you lost your two edge guys and you ended up in the playoffs with Ingram, Justin Houston, like all these like 35 plus year old guys who were really good, in their heyday, but there's a reason why you're able to sign these guys off practice squads or off coaching their kids' football team.
Yeah. I mean, you have an edge rusher that's missing fingers.
Yeah, JPP. No, but you're going into this season now and you're operating on the idea that okay, you're going up against Aaron Rodgers, you're going up against Josh Allen, you're going up against ideally if you go in the playoffs again, you'll meet Patrick Mahomes. You need that consistent rotation of edge rushers. And by the end of the year, you're going to have Chubb back. You're going to have Phillips back. Then you'll have Barrett rotating in. You'll have Chop Robinson rotating in. this will keep guys fresher and healthier because we always said last year the problem was this team wouldn't make an impact unless Wilkins was playing 85% of snaps or something ridiculous.
Mhm.
If Chubb was playing 85, like all these guys were just by the end of the year, it wears on you.
Yeah.
And I think this additional depth on that premium position, because I think we all agree the most premium positions in the NFL are QB, tackle, and D end. And you already have two, if they're healthy, really good guys in Chubb and Phillips. And now, Barrett's going to be serviceable, and you hope Chop Robinson, if Phillips doesn't come all the way back, you don't offer him an extension, and you have his replacement. That's why I think it was a great pick. I mean, which one of you guys wants a good?
No, I'll just go right off the bat. That I like the pick just because of the fact that we didn't have anybody, and we're starting off the year with both of our premier edge rushers. You would say our starters out. It's going to get good playing time. You would want more experience from, let's say, your rookie to start in the beginning of the season, and as your veterans come in, you're going to take the workload off of them. But it's also looking at the future as well because Shaq Barrett, I think, you just mentioned him. We only signed him for 1 year, so by all means, we could probably sign him for another year, probably get him for a little bit of a discounted price because he's going to be maybe in the back end of his career. God knows, whatever that situation might be. But having an edge rusher at a young age to develop in front of the two premier guys that we have. Now, I don't know what's going to happen with Jalen Phillips, but it all depends on how quickly Chop Robinson is going to adapt into NFL. If he comes out, obviously with immediate success, it makes it a lot easier for us going into the offseason of what we're going to make as a decision. But also another thing that you alluded to is the primary positions, right? Talked about
the premium position.
Yeah, the premium
QB.
Yeah, QB,
offensive tackle,
and then you got an edge rusher.
Yeah.
You hit on one of those. I mean, defense. We don't know what the scheme is going to look like, but doesn't matter what scheme you run, you need to rush the quarterback. You need that edge rusher. So I like the pick. I think it's a safe pick. I see the reasons why behind the pick, so that's why I am for the pick. But overall, I do like it. There's a lot of upside to it. And like I said before, the opportunity for this rookie to get in there at such a early stage of his career is going to help him in the long run and hopefully for the Miami Dolphins in his career. So, what about you, Miguel? All right.
So, I just want to point out that overall the Dolphins draft was a very average draft, very safe draft. As far as their first pick, I want to say with what was available, because we were talking about a lot of spot that like what was available, like we would choose the best available player, whether it was offensive line or whether it was defensive line. Do I think Chop Robinson was the best available there? No. So do I think they should have drafted someone else? Yes. But do I see the reasoning of why they drafted Chop Robinson? Yes. But
how about this, real quick?
there's value in the sense of a future. There's no value in the sense of him plugging in right now and he's just going to be that impact player.
Would you have liked, let's say, if they traded the 21st pick and went down to 25th and got some more assets, like let's say a third rounder, maybe even a second, but probably a third rounder, and then they drafted Chop Robinson? Would that have been better? Would that have do you think, not only you, but do you think that would have soothed a lot of Dolphin fans' hesitation with that pick?
I think everything went the way it should. Not only for the Dolphins, but I think every team, for the most part in the first round, most of them got the pick that they envisioned, or the pick that everybody thought they were going to get, other than the Falcons, of course.
'Of course. We'll get to those guys. But in another episode.
I mean, I think, I mean, you know, I think everything went the way it should. Not only for the Dolphins, but I think every team, for the most part in the first round, most of them got the pick that they envisioned, or the pick that everybody thought they were going to get, other than the Falcons, of course.
We'll get to those guys.
given what pick they had, and given that they had a third round taken away from them, um, it was a good pick in terms of motor. Like he has that Jason Taylor motor, like him and the other defensive end they picked up,
We'll get to
Kamara.
we'll get to him
But
in a bit.
but would you think that it was? I think honestly, it's a reach of where they got them because of the teams that were drafting after the Dolphins. Because hindsight, you're looking at the Vikings trading down to get JJ McCarthy.
Trading up.
I mean, trading up.
Yeah.
And then if you look at the order, right, you had Minnesota, then you had New England, and then you had the Saints. Which the Saints, they went with offensive tackle. So now you're kind of thinking, and we spoke about it before, were they thinking about going offense or defense? Obviously, it was going to be the line.
What pick did the Vikings have before?
I think they traded with Jacksonville. So they went up to. So they had the 11th pick. They moved up to 10th to get JJ McCarthy.
Okay.
But they had I think Jacksonville.
Did
Yeah,
they
they were 23rd, and they moved up to 17 to get Dallas Turner because he was still there. And Dallas Turner and Jared
what you were
Verse.
just talking about right now, what you were just saying right now, like if the Dolphins did something like that in terms of trading up to get, let's say, a Dallas Turner or a Brian Murphy or a Jared Verse, and then you're getting another pick like the Vikings did later in the round.
Oh no!
Like I think that would have been more beneficial, but
No, but remember, so the Vikings.
I don't know how
but
the
we don't
picks were with like in terms of like how the picks were, dispersed.
So what else? So the Vikings already had 2 first-round picks. They traded up like before the draft.
So
they
that's
had
what
the,
it was.
They
Yeah,
had the
the Dolphins
11th.
had one. Okay.
They had the 11th and the 23rd. They
Yeah.
moved up to the 10th and they moved up to the 17th. So the Vikings like just got rid of all like their latter round draft capital basically, just to get those 2 picks. They got their quote unquote quarterback of the future and JJ McCarthy, and then they get Dallas Turner, the edge that they needed.
Yeah, they needed defense.
Now,
okay.
I mean,
Do I think Dallas Turner was better than Jared Verse? Debatable.
It's 1A, 1B in terms of what people thought of Turner and Verse. The kid from UCLA, what was his name?
Murphy.
Latu.
Oh, Latu.
He was the one who everybody thinks is the premier defensive player, but he was medically retired like 2 years ago. So there's a lot of injury concern with him. He would have been a much higher pick from where he was at number, I think it was
15.
Yeah, 15. So,
I'm sorry, but I do want to mention that, like, to stand corrected. After the Dolphins pick, it was the Eagles, the Jags, and the Lions, and then Green Bay, which Green Bay is the one that drafted an O-lineman.
That was the next O-lineman.
That was the next O-lineman that was taken. It's like, if you look at, prior to, like, our needs.
And then Cowboys picked Guyton.
We needed an O-lineman, and we needed, O-line or D-line, right? I think it was a reach just because of the teams that were behind us. That of we probably could have maybe traded, but either way, this is hindsight.
Well, okay, the thing that you say it's a reach, like their next pick was 55. Like you have to pick who's there. Like you're saying, like
I felt like you could have made a move probably to get maybe an additional pick in the later round and move a little bit lower.
But that's what I suggested to him. Like if they move, okay, so
they should have traded their first round pick and got 2 more second rounders plus the second round they already had, or something like that.
So
I think that would have been more valuable than just having that one first round.
But who are we, right?
The next defensive lineman that was picked was Darius Robertson at 27.
Yeah.
So 21 to 27. That's 6. I mean.
But I think if you look at it, now that I'm looking at this, if the Dolphins traded away the first rounder and got multiple picks in the second and maybe 1 in the third or whatever, they could have gotten DT to help Sealer out because he was one of the losers for me in the draft on the Dolphins team, that he didn't get any help. Okoro and Newton got drafted early in the second round, along with Tavondre Sweat and Fisk. So, like, I think if, in hindsight, if the Dolphins did trade the first round pick for those multiple second and even third round or whatever it could have been, I think that there would have been way more value in that sense than what they stuck with.
I think the unfortunate part is the fan base, and I think to us, unfortunately, to an extent, we forgot how many defensive tackles they've signed in the offseason. I think the total amount is
and that was the issue. That's why they didn't draft DT.
They have 8 bodies for defensive tackles. Now, are they all good bodies? That's a different story. But I think we were all really excited at the fact that maybe we can get a Byron Murphy or something like that. And that was never on the radar because of the amount of volume that they had. And, you know.
But also, I mean, it's a good transition into the next pick because they went from edge rusher to offensive tackle. So they did get what they needed.
Yeah.
You know,
we did say it was going to be flip-flop. They were going to one to one round and then one the next round, vice versa.
The question is, did they get the right guy? So we're talking about Patrick Paul, offensive tackle for Houston. And I know if it's for people who are unaware, Houston is no longer in the, I believe it was AAC. They were part of the Big 12 last year. Mm-hmm. So Patrick did go up against Texas, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State. Like, you know, the compared to what he was going up against before.
The powerhouses.
Yeah, you're going up against Power 5 schools, especially
NFL guys.
Especially Texas and Oklahoma now. Like, I know Oklahoma has a bad rap, but ever since – I'm blanking on his name right now. The defensive coordinator for Clemson who went over their coach now. Oklahoma's found their defensive side again. Once Lincoln Riley left, and they got this guy who I'm blanking. Brent Venables. There you go. They've really started recruiting better on the defensive line. You know, Sark has Texas running on all cylinders. So he faced a lot of good talent at Houston. And, I mean, this kid, when he was drafted, I was telling you, Miguel, like, this kid's a monster. Like, 6'7".
He rivals Taron Armstead. Like, he's got his size.
6'7", 330 pounds, and I believe he had the longest arms.
He has a wingspan than
in the whole draft. I think something like that. Something ridiculous.
They were saying it's comparable to Giannis.
But you're also not in a rush to put him out there as well. You know, it's like one of those you do have Terrell Armstead that he's always dealt with injury problems. And
exactly, and
this guy might even get a couple starts.
As a fan, that's the first thing I thought when they drafted him, and I saw that they drafted Paul. Like, okay, cool. Now we have a backup because sure enough, like we know for a fact that Terrell is going to get injured at some point, and this guy's going to get plugged in right away.
The problem is he's not ready to start. And that's where we get
developmental.
No, but I'm saying
no. Like this is one of those picks, and this is where the fan base.
God forbid he gets injured. Taron Armstead. Yeah,
we got harder.
I'm saying he's gonna play a certain amount of games, and that's gonna allow Paul to learn and plus practice
under
training
12 games.
Camp. Like,
under.
So we're all thinking 10, right?
I was thinking less.
He does not start,
but thinking like 8.
You think he's going to play – Eric, that means he misses 9 games this year. That's not unreasonable. I don't know why I'm shocked. But back to the kid.
And then you can also put an argument of, switch him to the other side of tackle and put him on the right side as well. So if you have concerns with right tackle,
how
do switch him to the
how do I block on the right
side? Where's Austin Jackson? Is he a guard or tackle? I think we have a problem at guard, don't we? Because
everything's guard because tackle's taken care of.
Yeah, so I think Austin Jackson's at the right tackle, right? Anyways, I know he was drafted left tackle, but
at the end of the day, what we're looking at is where it goes back into what we all agree on, that it's a safe pick that we've already seen.
Yeah, Austin Jackson.
Yeah.
Which we shouldn't have a problem there. Now that I say that, never mind.
That it goes that we're reacting to what we've already seen from our team, right? We're reacting to Armstead getting hurt, and he's not going to play a full season, which honestly we should not expect him to play a full season. And throughout that time, that's on the coaching staff to develop him. Also, another thing that does help this young rookie is that we have a system that, the ball's out in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
We led the league with the time per throw. So that alleviates that pressure that, if it was a Josh Allen that he's going to just sit there in the pocket and try to read a defense, and holding the ball, that's a problem. But all in all, I think it's a safe pick. Yes, there's question marks. I mean, every draft pick's going to have that, but it was a need that we needed.
So I think
So
a few things we have to take into consideration here. One, you could like the whole team, like Greer, McDaniels, all the people who were put in front of a microphone, you could tell they were giddy, excited about this pick. Like and when that clock started ticking away, like they basically turned in the pick immediately.
yeah.
They
They-
wanted this guy. They knew they wanted him.
Yeah, they had
And-
a legit plan.
Yeah.
They did
And-
their research.
They wanted the guy.
They did their due diligence.
They got the guy they wanted.
Anyways, so I think this is one of those. What's his name? Butch Berry, the offensive line coach. He's really made Austin Jackson into a very serviceable,
right tackle.
if not like good right tackle. He worked his magic with the offensive line, and so everybody's hoping this is going to be another Butch Berry special, where okay, you have a year to work with this kid, and you take it from there. But again, this is the balance of I think when, and I'm not really trying to play devil's advocate because I really do like a lot of their draft picks, but I'm talking about in terms of how the fan base feels about this whole future versus now thing.
Mhm.
So
Now the most questionable pick I would think in the draft was this next one.
really, and the next one, folks, is Jalen Wright, a running back out of Tennessee. That was your most questionable one?
That makes Mostert a loser in the draft after that pick.
Well, they're reacting to because you have Ahmed that he's going to be a free agent after this year, and Jeff Wilson's going to be another free agent after this year as well. Like that's where I'm giving the pick more of an understanding
Yeah,
because then you have
H-Chan. I think
you
you're
have
Mustard.
Mustard. I
Munster
love that
cheese.
cheese. But need to settle down. But I can see why that pick, but I felt that man to go for a running back when we still clearly need a D tackle, a tight end.
Well, we kind of mentioned the D tackle part. Like, we have too many bodies. Like, it just doesn't seem like they're going to put. To me, this was Miguel. What do you think about before I jump in? What do you think about the Jalen Wright pick?
So
Really holds us in suspense, folks.
I think it was a great pick in a sense of like you are creating competition in the running back room, but at the same time you're kind of sending a message like, hey, like we picked this guy because there's doubts in what we think about Jeff Wilson, Ahmed, maybe not so much Brooks. Like I think he has a good ceiling, but I don't know. The way the NFL works with like giving running backs chances. I think it's a good safety blanket in terms of, if Mostert, he's not getting any younger and he's had leg issues.
I mean, he's fast.
And
Yes.
Like,
yeah, he's a serviceable running back, but you like the Dolphins are the Heat, and it's just like we're playing for we're playing for injuries. So in terms of that, aspect, we're playing for injuries. Like if Mostert gets injured, we're left with A-Chain and then who else? Jeff Wilson, who I think is just very average, if not below average.
I think to me,
so I think it's a great pick.
as
As far as what was picked after him, yeah.
I think as a 4th round pick, it was great value because Mostert is not going to get through the season healthy. I know he had a great year last year,
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
but history proves that.
You've been saying that since he came to the Dolphins.
Okay, and how many healthy seasons has he had with the Dolphins?
He's had some pretty good years.
How many healthy seasons?
I don't know.
Spoiler, 1. Okay, and historically in San Francisco and everywhere else he's been, how many healthy seasons has he had? About 3, maybe. He's been in the league for like 10 years. He's a great running back. I like him.
Yeah, I like him.
He's great when he's on the field. Yeah, and I really do think that A-Chan is going to be used differently this year, and I think that's why they drafted him. I think they're gonna because they did a little bit last year. The 2 running back sets, not a lot.
Yeah,
I think they're going to use A-Chan more in the sense of Mike McDaniel's wrinkle last year was let's get Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle running across the field,
and
and then everybody started copying that because they're like, "Oh my god, that's brilliant!"
And they just run the counter.
I think they're going to do something with Achane, similar to that with Achane this year, and they're going to prevent him from being more of a running back and use him more of like I don't want to use that example because that's not popular. But
like a Folk from like the Patriots, like back in the day, like he was more of a catching back, like out of
Yeah,
the
just-
fields.
I think
type of-
they need to find ways to keep Tyreek and Waddle out of the middle of the field. You
Okay.
can't do this whole thing
Yeah.
again where you're going to do 17 games of that because eventually people picked up on that and they're like,
And
hey,
just
when
play
they're
them
out
out.
there, lay them out because they're in the middle of the field. Like, get your licks in.
Mhm.
I think they're going to do something this year. I don't know if this is a hot take, whatever you want to call it. They're going to do something different with Achane this year where they're going to exploit his speed more outside of the traditional running back sense. They're going to dump it off to him a lot more. So they're going to need that extra running back in Jalen Wright and Mozart while Achane's going to be peeling off to different parts and kind of creating a nightmare matchup for linebackers and or safeties or
So then to the point of, I mean, I'm thinking like the scheme of it. Like Mostert is the running back that is between the
the
tackles.
traditional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jalen, from like the way he runs and the way he looks, like his body style, it reminds me of more of a Achane more than
Reggie Bush.
yeah.
I don't know.
No, but like he's a catching back.
He's
Like
a catching
you would
back.
think you want to get him out in
And somehow we
space.
forced Reggie Bush to be a 1,000-yard rusher.
But
Anything's
you want to get him
possible.
out in space. So I do see where you're coming from. But I was just more in shock with that pick as a running back.
Yeah.
But whatever's I don't know what's left in the draft. I mean, we did pick up an edge rusher.
I do want to talk. We'll talk about him because we're running out of time. But I really want to talk about that one because I think that was another great value pick.
Yeah, I thought I love that pick.
That might have been the best pick in the draft.
Yeah.
And we're talking about Mohamed Kamara, edge out of Colorado State.
He's not the running back from the Saints.
Alvin Kamara.
That pick I was excited for because we were talking about production and he produced in Colorado State over what Chop Robinson did
he
in terms of
balled
production. And I'm like, damn, like
He balled out in the Colorado game. That Colorado and Colorado
Like,
State game, he balled out.
29.5 career sacks, 13 in his final season last year, 45.5 tackles for loss.
And like look at his like structure, like the body size. Like he's a tall
It's a prototypical-
He reminds me of a Chubb.
I'm sorry?
Excuse me? No, but he reminds me of Chubb. Like the way his
Build.
physique, like his build and his strengths, it's Chubb. So that's great. And for where you got him at is you can't beat that.
5th round.
a lot of analysts bash the Dolphins on their draft, like saying that they didn't have a good draft. But like in hindsight, the Dolphins drafted, and we said it. We keep on saying it. They drafted based on like what they needed now, like in terms of like they did their research. They knew what they were getting each round. They had a plan and they stuck with it. They didn't deviate from the plan and reach on certain players or whatever it is.
Mhm.
And they got 2 edge rushers instead of paying more money on the market for edge rushers. 2 young edge rushers that can be part of this rotations once, which I think Phillips is going to actually start the season healthy. And then, Chubb is going to be on the PUP list for the first 4 weeks. So after the first 4 weeks of the Dolphin season, like I think it's going to be some exciting times once that unit on D-line gets healthy.
All right. So last 3 picks we're going to run through real quick. Malik Washington, wide receiver, Virginia.
Slot guy gonna take probably
He might be the 3rd
He-
wide receiver. Maybe. He in competition for it.
well Braxton Berrios, like that right there. It's hey Braxton Berrios, this might be your last season with us.
He led the nation, 110 catches, 1,400 yards, 9 touchdowns. Round 6.
Led the nation?
Yeah, with 100
the
touchdowns.
nation.
Patrick Morris, safety, Carolina.
Meh.
Good depth, but I mean, he's a special teams player. And the last pick, Taj Washington, wide receiver, USC. Similar build to Jalen Waddle, 5'10", 175. But everybody predicts he's going to be more of a special teams person. So
Practice squad.
overall, real quick, we got about 30 seconds left. Yes or no, Eric, good draft.
Oh yes.
Miguel, yes or no, good draft.
Yes, B plus.
B plus. Okay. Eric, grade.
I'm gonna go with A minus.
Ooh, all right.
Ooh.
I'm gonna give it a B plus. I don't want to really give it that A. I think you
Yeah.
could have got more value by trading down
Yes.
and still getting Chop
Yes.
Robinson. But other than that, great acquisition of talent. And that's about it, folks. So we're gonna wrap it up here. Thanks for stopping by. We'll catch you on the next one.